On top of Senator Paul, now 4 senators are in isolation, and the rules say that in order to vote, they have to be there.
Who are they?
Romney, Senator Lee,
Senator Gardner, Senator Rick Scott.
Senator Rick Scott. Also, 2 of them were in contact with
Rick is coming out.
With the critical stimulus package vote expected.
Romney's in isolation?
Yes.
Gee, that's too bad. Go ahead.
Detect sarcasm there,
No,
sir?
none whatsoever.
The president decides to use his time and his platform this morning by tweeting this about Mitt Romney. First of all, Mitt Romney tests negative for coronavirus, Breitbart News reports. The president says, "This is really great news. I am so happy I can barely speak." Sarcasm, of course. He may have been a terrible presidential candidate and an even worse U.S. senator, but he is a rhino, and I like him a lot, with an exclamation point. The president of the United States...
Don't you just ask yourself the question right now about his stability?
Well, of course, Mika, we do every day.
I wonder what about people in the White House right now watching this?
So that first video was from when Trump learned about Mitt Romney's decision to self-isolate. The second one was of Morning Joe just, oh, how could he? How could he? Look, my take on this is going to be a little bit different than a lot of liberals and progressives. So is Trump a horrible guy? Oh my God. Yes, a completely horrible guy. Who would actually wish that upon another human being, acting disappointed, being sarcastic, kind of, I mean, in some indirect way, wishing that Mitt Romney had coronavirus. That's gross. He's a member of his own party, but by the way, it just goes to show how much the Republican base rejects politicians like Mitt Romney. It's an awful, awful thing to do. We know this. But you know, I don't know if the media has caught on to this. The public likes that he's an a-hole. It's a part of his persona. It makes him seem real to people. He doesn't seem all polished, and he's tweeting, trash talking Mitt Romney. People kind of like that. So when Morning Joe gets all worked up about tweets like this, it doesn't play with anyone except the audience that they've already reached. People who don't watch MSNBC kind of think it's funny. And being funny is good in politics. So while Trump is a horrible guy, what's frustrating about the media's coverage is that it's so focused on his decorum. We've talked about this over and over again. When that's part of what people like about him. That's part of what a regular person in the middle of the country, someone who isn't an avid Morning Joe viewer, they like that about Trump. I can't say it enough. So acting outraged over it, it's very counterproductive. Talking about how he's given tax cuts to the rich, how he's bungled the coronavirus, how he's been a generally awful, incompetent legislator, or leader, I should say. Yeah, that's actually effective, but this stuff isn't. And it's part of why Trump is so much more trusted by the American public. I know that's crazy because Trump's incompetent and a loser, but why he's so much more trusted than the media, who is currently giving facts about the coronavirus. But these stunning Gallup numbers underscore how this constant outrage over Trump, over things that aren't policy related, is so counterproductive. So Gallup looked at the approval ratings for institutions, and I just wanted to highlight some of these here during the coronavirus pandemic. U.S. hospitals, 88% approval, of course. Their employer, 82% approval. I guess a lot of people seem to be happy with their employer's response for now. Government health agencies, 80%. Donald Trump, 60% approve. Rallying behind the leader in a time of crisis, and he's been visible on TV, acting like he knows what he's talking about when he doesn't, and giving people hope. Biden, nowhere to be found, terrible electoral strategy. Congress, 59%, surprising still. At the bottom, the worst institution that was polled by Gallup, 44%. It's the only entity that they polled to have a majority disapproval at 55% as well. So part of why I'm saying this is because the media's right. Like, as much as I kind of roll my eyes at the pearl clutching by Morning Joe, they're right that that's a horrible thing to say. They're right that he's a buffoon. They're right that he's a jerk. They're right that he's unfit to hold the presidency. They're right that he's incompetent. They're right that he's wrong about the coronavirus. They're right that he could have prevented it. They're right that he's downplaying it currently and is trying to get people to celebrate Easter in packed churches. Oh my God, that's a horror show. They are correct, but the way that they are going the way that they're going about doing this is so counterproductive. I keep saying that word. But it actually turns people off. They're like, oh, come on, he's not doing that bad of a job. Everything he does, you guys have a problem with. And that's the problem with not having targeted messaging in your coverage. The news media has gotten a short-term sugar high by being able to go after Trump all the time. Because their audience, they eat it up. Everything he does, he's so awful, he's so awful, he's so awful. Now, guys, you've got to make it more targeted or it's ineffective. And then, when it's ineffective and the media is not trusted, look what happens. Trump gets reelected. I'm fearful every day that that's what's going to happen.